Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by John, as I am each and every week. How you doing, John?
Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Not bad. And again, a last-minute sub-in, Nick Craig. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. How are you, Andrew?
Roku developer extraordinaire.
Oh, yes. That's my title.
You develop Roku apps for pretty much everybody that's doing internet broadcasting at this point.
Yep. It's a good little niche market.
Where can people contact you?
CraigDigitalDesigns.com.
Very, very cool. A lot's going on. This is the first show back for the year for us. I was in Mexico last week, and I was trapped there. I was stuck.
Oh, yeah. You're the only one that would be sad about being trapped in Cancun.
I was honestly...
The only one.
I was actually honestly trapped in Cancun. There were no flights out of anywhere. There were no JetBlue flights. I was stuck there for a day, 2 days, actually. At the last minute, we were able to find a flight, and we came back, and I was so shot the entire week. Just the mental anguish of not knowing when I'm coming back just ruined everything for me. So we took off last week to kind of regroup.
So neurotic.
I had to regroup, John. I had to regroup. So we're back. Everything is back to normal. We're doing our shows. A lot of technology stuff happening. We didn't really cover CES, so we're going to touch on that a little bit. I'm going to get John's opinion on some stuff. I'm going to talk to Nick about some stuff. I want to start off with CES, obviously, because this was the big news last week. Again, I feel like this year's CES was the most lackluster CES that I could remember. There really wasn't. I mean, every year there's like that one thing, right? There's the 3D TVs, there's the 4K TVs, there's something every year. There was virtually nothing other than 4K televisions this year, and wearable tech. A lot of wearable tech that really, I don't know if we're going to see it ever come to market. John,
there was something in particular I want to get your opinion on.
Yeah, go ahead. What was it?
Pebble came out with this new steel watch. It still has the same smartwatch display, but it has a steel band now. And I know you're a big fan of watches.
I am. I'm just not a fan of technology as my watch. I like real watches. I like classic watches. I'm not crazy about the wearable watch, the smart watch. And in its current version, I mean, there is a market for this. People actually love their Pebble. I do think this is the early days of these devices, but to pay $300 for a device that's really not a full-featured device, to me, seems a little limited. Nick, what do you think of these smartwatches?
I mean, at least for the Pebble, I mean, it's expensive. Like you said, it's almost $300. It doesn't have an LCD screen. It's that, what is it? Paper screen, that ink screen that they use on like the Kindle and stuff. So for me, the price, the e-ink, the price is it's way too much. I'm not going to spend $300 so I can get a text message notification.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all it's doing, right, John?
Pretty much, yeah. You can have some like applications to interface with it and do a few other things, but for the most part, it's just basically you alerting you to stuff.
I would like to see what this ends up becoming, right? The smartwatch market. Right now, Samsung is the only one that really has a smartwatch on the market.
Here's what's interesting about this is that they're trying to make this out into a big deal. Like, finally, the Dick Tracy watch is here that everybody's ever wanted. But the problem is we've gone past that now. We're way past having, the Dick Tracy watch. We have a smartphone that does way more than what a Dick Tracy watch ever did. So the fact that you kind of do have that Dick Tracy watch now just really is kind of irrelevant, I think.
Yeah, to me, it's not a big deal. Like, I know the argument. A lot of people saying, well, I take my phone out less now, right? Because I just look at my wrist. I actually always have my phone in my hand. I would actually prefer to look at it on my phone because I'm going to have to respond to it eventually. I don't want
So you want a smartphone watch?
No, I mean, I don't care. I don't care for it. No, I really don't care for the smartphone watch. Yeah, listen, when Apple does something, it might be interesting. Like right now, I don't think Samsung's doing anything all that great with their device.
I don't think anybody is.
I know. I remember, Nick, you were a little excited for it, and then you actually read about it, and you kind of were like, "Wow, this is actually a little stupid. Like, there's no reason to get this device."
Yeah, the one thing that a lot of people are doing with it though is installing their own version of Android on it, so that it's almost like another phone. They're installing full Android on it so that you have access to the App Store and you can run apps on your watch on like the 3-inch screen or whatever it is.
I mean, and that's a little nutty.
Yeah, no, it's pretty insane.
I love that. I love that. A selling point is that you got to hack the device to get it to do what you want it to do. I mean,
that's the premise of Android.
That's the premise of Android. Yeah, a lot of wearable tech, 4K televisions, a lot of 4K TVs, a lot of affordable 4K TVs. We're gonna see
like 150 TVs that were announced,
and a lot of them.
150.
But John, did you notice a lot of the no-name companies that were there? Like
not really. No.
A lot.
I didn't pay that much attention to it, to be honest.
Like normally, all these announcements are like for Samsung, LG, which we're getting, Panasonic. But now we're starting to see Westinghouse have an announcement about a 4K TV, and these second or third tier television manufacturers come up with these major announcements, and they're the first ones coming to market. There's a lower end, I guess, Chinese manufacturer putting out a 4K TV. It's actually on the market right now. You could get it at Sears for $800, 55-inch for $800.
Vizio had one for $1,000, I think.
Vizio has one for $1,000 also.
Inch.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty affordable. It's far more affordable than I thought it would be initially, because I thought these things would be, a couple grand.
Sure, we're just now starting to see 4K TVs start to be in the more affordable range. Because last year, you're talking, at least $5,000 for a 4K Ultra HD TV.
Yeah.
Now you can get one for, $1,500 or less.
Yeah, I mean, which is great. But my concern is, when is media going to reach that level? When are we going to start seeing 4K whatever? Obviously, we're not going to see the cable companies do it anytime soon, because they're not even doing 1080p. The 1080 that they are doing, the 1080i that they're doing, is totally compressed. Looks awful. Netflix actually is pretty much the only one that could, at the snap of a finger, release 4K. And I think for something like that, the technology is going to grow quicker than relying on the cable companies. I think they are the ones that kind of control the fate of 4K and how early it's going to be adapted.
Sure, but you're only going to see big name players in there. YouTube also said that they were going to do some sort of 4K thing, I think, as well. 4K streaming they were testing, I think it was. But you're talking about these companies that have billions of dollars worth to put behind this stuff and experiment with it. Because that's where we are at right now with 4K, is it's still experimental in delivering that content to you. In order for that content to be delivered to you, you got to think about the bandwidth cost. 4K is 4 times the amount of bandwidth that 1080p is right now.
Yeah, and actually the codecs.
That is a big challenge.
But how about the codecs, John? I mean, it's still a mess with that, right? H.265 hasn't been fully incorporated in every setup.
Nope.
So there's a lot of questions when it comes to 4K and the way that it's going to be delivered. But the other one was bendable displays, a lot of bendable displays, and a lot of arched televisions. That's the new trend, apparently.
Yeah, curved displays.
Why?
I have absolutely no idea. The only thing I can equate that to is that people want these large TVs that are going to give them somewhat of an IMAX experience, because that's the big thing now in movie theaters, is having these IMAX experiences, and they're trying to kind of replicate that with TV, but I'm not sure that that's really going to work the same way.
Nick, 4K, give me your opinion.
So, I mean, as of right now, like you said, there's no content. I mean, I think 4K is currently in the place that 3D was 3 or 4 years ago, where, great, these TVs are out, they're in the upper thousands of dollars, but like you said, no content for them. Cable's never going to catch up. I mean, like they're doing what, 720p, 1080i? It looks like crap, no matter what they're doing with that. So basically, it's Netflix, YouTube, and 4K players that you're going to watch movies on. So I think right now it's a useless technology.
What stood out the most to you guys out of everything that was announced? Was there anything that you looked at and said, wow, actually, that looks interesting if it actually comes to market?
No.
I saw one thing.
What did you see, Nick?
This is kind of a gaming thing, but Razer, the gaming company, announced a fully modular computer that's just kind of like plug and play. There's these components, and they have 2 pins on them, and you just plug them into this base. It's called Project Christine, and it's by Razer, and that's kind of the coolest thing I saw, but it's going to be way too expensive.
Concept Project Christine. I'm looking at this. The world's first modular PC design. So you just plug it. Oh, okay. I kind of understand what this is.
Yeah, you just buy the different components. So if you want to update your processor in 2 years, instead of trashing your whole PC, you just sell your processor part of the Christine and then pop in the new piece. And I guess that's how it works.
So, but you have to buy the components from them. It's proprietary components.
They haven't announced that. I would assume it will be because Razer's one of those companies.
Yeah.
But that would be cool if it wasn't, because then you could, I mean, you're talking about real affordability where you could build a.
But isn't every computer, isn't every computer modular to an extent? You could replace everything on a computer. You could change a video card.
I think they're going after the model of people that aren't savvy enough to build their own computer, but can push a component into a hole. Like, that's what I think they're going for. I think they're attacking the console market, the people that just buy a console and use it, and trying to say, hey, come over to the PC side. All you have to do is buy our component, slide it in, and there you go. You're all set with your computer instead of having to build it.
I think the biggest problem with CES now, and the thing that's kind of changed the way that these announcements works, is every company now wants to follow the Apple model. They want to have their own major announcement. They want to get as much press as they want. They want the press there. They want to give away something. They want to announce it, and then that's it. They don't want to rely on another... they don't want to rely on something like CES where, you know what, they could have a pretty groundbreaking announcement and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle because there's 5,000 of these announcements happening. We've also noticed a lot of companies like Samsung, for example. Samsung won't unveil stuff at CES. Microsoft is totally out of CES. They're no longer there. Apple's obviously not there. You're not getting any phone announcements, nothing.
No, even Intel this year was very pathetic, in my opinion. They were announcing like smart onesies for babies that you can use to help monitor your baby. Whoopee! Like, really? This is what you're using CES for? Like, okay.
I mean, we always get that. I mean, that's always going to be there. But the reason why it's getting so much coverage now is because, you know what? They did not announce a new, whatever. It's these weird announcements. It's only for the TV companies. Here's one announcement: LG is using WebOS for their new televisions.
Yeah,
I mean, okay.
Isn't WebOS the BlackBerry operating system?
No, it's the Palm operating system.
Oh yeah, Palm operating system.
Yeah,
sorry,
which was phenomenal. It was actually a really good operating system, and it's a shame what happened, but. That was a big announcement. The other one is that Roku is now going to be available on certain televisions. Westinghouse is one of them. LG, I believe, is one of them, John?
I think so.
They're going to start putting Roku on these TVs, which I think is great. Nothing from Google. We got no Google TV announcements. Fascinatingly enough, we saw a lot of Android TVs. Did you see those boxes? They were running just Android on them.
No.
I thought that was actually somewhat interesting.
To be honest, there's just here's my problem with CES is that you're going to have 5,000 announcements for literally 4,000 products, if not more, that will never see the market ever. So it's like, why even bother paying attention to the majority of this stuff? Because even if they do come out, it's going to be a year, 6 months to a year. If they even do come out to the public.
I feel like it was when I started doing the show, for example, 5 years ago, CES was a far bigger deal to cover and to be on top of what's being announced. And now it's
and I think part of it too is that you just have so many blogs and companies covering it now that it's just overwhelming. It's just, how do you pick out what's actually good, what's actually going to come to fruition, and what isn't? I mean, yes, we love to see those products out there that are just really gimmicky or futuristic or does something really neat. But in reality, how many of those products are actually going to be something we can buy in the near future?
Absolutely.
I'm talking within, 2, 3, 4 months.
Yeah, absolutely, and very rare. There is a weird thing that you could actually follow if you if a company announces that they're going to release it by the second quarter. There's a good chance it's coming out. If they announce fourth quarter of the year, there's a good chance it's definitely never going to show up at market. Yeah. So that's kind of how you're able to separate the stuff that's happening.
It's such a hoodwink because you hear about all these cool, super cool products, and then you'll never hear of them again. It's vaporware.
Yeah. John, going to the Nest story, this is interesting, and a lot of people are upset that Google has acquired Nest.
This is very interesting. Google acquired Nest, which is the home automation company that does stuff for your thermostat and whatnot. They bought them for $3.2 billion, but nobody really knows just yet what Google has planned for Nest.
It's a beautiful device. I mean, the thermostat, and it's just another step into doing this home automation thing. I'm not crazy about home automation. I know a lot of people that are. I know a lot of people are really into it. But people are upset because this is just another thing that Google's going to know about you. They're going to know at what times you like certain temperatures, and this, further helps grow what Google does. But a lot of people are upset at that. They don't want Google selling their information. They don't want them using their information. Google has said they're going to use it for internal stuff, for, improvements, but $3.2 billion for this company.
That's a lot of money.
That's a ton of money, and that just shows that they have some sort of patent that Google wants.
It must be. It's going to become like a Google connected home now, I guess.
But it's $200, this device. It's really pretty looking, but it's a thermostat. If you really think about it, even though it's a smart thermostat, there's only so much we could do, right? And a lot of homes don't have central air conditioning, so you got heating. So you could turn the heat on, you could turn the heat off, you could set a timer, you could, further customize how you're going to do the heat. But in reality, is this something that a lot of people want?
I don't think a lot of people really care. It's a lot like LED bulbs in the sense that people know they exist, but it's really expensive.
Oh, you're talking about the ones that you could control with your phone and control the color with your phone and stuff like that. Yeah,
just LED bulbs in general, because you think about where LED bulbs were 5 years ago. Even 3 years ago, LED bulbs were like $100 for an LED bulb, and it just wasn't practical. And until these thermostats are, $50. There's really no use in having them.
Which, guess what? It's not going to be, because a regular thermostat, like the one that I just recently changed last year, was $100. And it's, just a dummy thermostat. It's a digital thermostat.
Yeah.
Nick, are you excited about home automation? The home of the future.
No, and I think this Nest is stupid. When was the last time that you were out somewhere and said, "Oh man, I forgot to set the temperature by 1 degree"? That you were like, "Oh man, I really wish it was 66."
I mean, you could do that now. You could set a timer for certain days and times, and I really don't ever do that. I like my house cold, so
it comes down in price.
Yeah, I mean, I set my house pretty cold. You know what? Maybe I would get it because I like it. It's a cool little device, and it's almost like a showpiece. Like, people come to your house and like, "What is this thing on your wall?" And you're like, "Oh, that's the Nest." Here.
Then you tell them the price, and they're like, "Oh, you have money that you like to spend."
I paid $200 to find out what's the temperature, and look, it glows.
Oh boy!
I mean,
I can control it from the living room, and it's in the dining room.
Yeah. There is much more to the story than we know so far, but here's just another piece of Google knowing every aspect of your life. They're on your television. If you have Google TV, they know where your phone is. They're on your phone, so they pretty much track you all day long. They know your habits online because they're your browser. They know your email, so they pretty much know every bit of detail about your life, and now they know if you like your house hot or cold.
Is it a big deal,
that they know that information? No. I know a lot of people are freaking out over that, but I don't think it's a big deal for Google to know that I keep my house at 65 degrees when I'm not home.
This is just the typical, we hate big corporation stuff. I mean, all week, all of these tech blogs, now Google's going to know when you're home. Who cares? If you're running Android, they know when you're home.
Yeah.
When you're using your Chrome browser, they know you're home.
I recently I found that website for Google where it'll show every place that you've gone for the year. And I did it. I'm like, wow, it knows every single thing that I'm doing. And it knows how long I'm staying at certain places. It knows what restaurants I'm going to. But this is just part of the culture. We like to provide this information out. Most people do. I Foursquare, I tweet, I Facebook. I don't know if this is as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, that, oh, they're going to find out all the information. They already know everything.
But on the other hand, don't you kind of feel like, in a way, that it's 2014, why aren't our homes more automated? Because you would think by 2014, it's very futuristic now. Shouldn't we have all these automated homes where all our appliances are connected to the internet? We can check out what's in our fridge remotely from our phone when we're at the grocery store.
In my opinion,
Jetson style.
In my opinion, home automation will work when you tear the house apart. It's a brand new build, and you have a smart grid, and you have a smart breaker box. So everything is being measured. You kind of tell the device, and these devices know, the outlets know what device it is, and we're far away from that. I mean, you know what would
be really smart is if they somehow took this power line technology where you can do networking through the power, Ethernet through power. If they built that into homes, so that whatever appliance you plug in,
it's connected. Yeah,
whether your fridge, your stove, etc., it's connected.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the only way that we're going to get smart, these automated smart homes of the future. That is the only time it's going to happen, but we are far away from that. I think Ethernet over power is a perfect way to do something like that, because that makes it very easy for the consumer. It makes it very easy for the manufacturer of these appliances. They just build it into the appliance, and you just plug it in like you would normally plug it in for power. Yeah, but again, that's 100 years away, in my opinion.
But it's 2014.
Well, it'll be 2114 when we start seeing that.
Where's my flying car?
I've been waiting for the flying car since 1996.
How's that gone?
Not well. The year 2000 was going to be the year, but apparently something happened. We got a major setback.
Yeah.
Between 1960
years since Y2K.
What happened between 1960 to 2000 where the plan of the flying car failed? What happened? I want to go to the next story because this is fascinating to me. As many of you know, I'm a big professional wrestling fan. It's something that I was never able to shake off from the time that I was a kid. I've become
Welcome to Matman, everybody.
Welcome to Matman. I'm Andrew Zarian. I've become more of a pro wrestling historian. I like the history of wrestling. It's just something that I really enjoy watching. And now I'm going to be able to watch it 24 hours a day because the WWE has launched the WWE is launching the WWE Network. It's going to be online. They're going to have, not only are they going to have on-demand content, which I believe they have over 100,000 hours of wrestling footage dating back from, I think they go back as far as the 60s all the way to now. All different organizations that they've acquired over the years. $10 a month. It does come with a 6-month deal. So it's 10 months over the term of 6 months. I'm sorry, $10 over the term of 6 months. And then after that contract is over, it's again $10 a month for 6 months. And that's the way that they guarantee that you're at least paying for 2 pay-per-views a year rather than, somebody canceling it after the pay-per-view. So every pay-per-view is going to be available. And I think that is the bigger story here. Not that they're putting their stuff online, not that you're going to be able to watch original programming. The fact that they're totally killing the pay-per-view model, which I believe they're the second largest pay-per-view
I'm still surprised that there are pay-per-views.
Well, the only pay-per-views that really exist are UFC, boxing, and professional wrestling. Those are the only 3 that generate revenue, and boxing really generates it twice a year or maybe possibly once a year if it's Floyd Mayweather that's fighting. UFC obviously does much better with pay-per-view because their entire brand was based on pay-per-view. They didn't have TV for the longest time, and they still do. They still do phenomenal buy rates on pay-per-view. But professional wrestling over the last couple of years has declined in numbers for pay-per-view, except for WrestleMania, which will do about 1.2 million for the buy rate for the pay-per-view. But here's the crazy part. That's $70.
Yeah.
Every month. $70. They're giving this away now. 12 pay-per-views a year. Plus, they're at launch, they're giving away every pay-per-view ever from the WWE, WCW, or ECW. It's all going to be on demand. And now this is the cool part. They're also going to have live programming. So it's not just on demand. They're going to have a schedule of live shows, originally produced stuff. A lot of stuff is archive stuff, pre-shows, post-shows. The pay-per-views are going to be live and other live shows that they haven't announced. This is actually a very good step in the right direction when it comes to online content consumption. They are probably the first ones that are taking a gigantic leap into the online realm when it comes to media like this. They're the first ones in the sporting world that are really going all out and giving you everything online without being locked into any kind of network deal. Raw and SmackDown are still going to be on the networks, but I believe they're negotiating where they're going to have the replay on the network. What do you think of this, Nick? I mean, this is actually really cool. Oh, by the way, MLB is doing all the legwork. So if you have the MLB network and you're happy with it, you'll be happy with this because they are providing the bandwidth and the infrastructure for the WWE.
This is a really cool idea. And personally, I'm not into wrestling, but the technology behind it is kind of interesting. You mean you take a company that charges, what is it, Andrew, $60-70 a pay-per-view?
$70 for an HD pay-per-view a month.
Yeah, so $70 a month. And so they're used to $70 a month per person. Now they're scaling it down to $10 a month. So I guess they're assuming that everybody is going to switch over to this model, and people that weren't paying for the pay-per-views previously will be switching over to their web model. And for $10 a month, I mean, it's the same price as Netflix.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
You can't beat it.
So here are the devices that they've announced for launch. PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Roku, obviously your computer. I believe those are the only devices that are announced at launch. But at the event, they were handing out custom Apple TVs with the WWE logo that they said they're not allowed to mention yet. And they were handing out Chromecasts with the WWE logo that they weren't allowed to mention yet. So I think by launch, they'll have these two devices. But this is just another step at killing the cable. You don't need cable. John, what do you think of this? I know you're not a wrestling fan, but what do you think of the concept behind this?
I love the concept. My concern is the price over this. I'm just concerned that they could do a bait and switch where, you sign up for the $10 and then 6 months later they're going to increase it to $20.
Well, they have said they are not doing that. This is the long-term plan for the pricing, and the way that they're guaranteeing that is by locking you into essentially 6 months instead of a 1 month.
Which I think is fine.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Nick.
John brings up a good point with that, because obviously with them lowering the price $60 per pay-per-view, right? Because it was $70 a pay-per-view. Now you're only paying $10 a month.
Well, it's $70 for WrestleMania. It's $59.95 for the HD regular pay-per-view every month.
So $60 a month. They're assuming that 1 in 5 people that never, or 1 out of 6 people bought the pay-per-view before. Now 6 of 6 are going to buy the pay-per-view or buy the online web streaming thing. If nobody switches over, and if people that weren't paying for the pay-per-view still don't pay for the online thing, then I think what John said, them raising the price because, oh crap, we're not making any money off this, we're losing money. I think that could be a serious issue.
They are looking at it like this. They're saying they're projecting 1 million subscriptions by the end of the year. So what I'm betting is that they, in their minds, are saying, okay, well, our monthly, our let's say for Raw, for example, they have over 4 million people that watch it live. If 1/4 of that audience signs up for this, that's phenomenal. Now we also have all the people that are going to get WrestleMania. What's better? To give us $10 now and to pay it over a couple months and get all this stuff and you get WrestleMania, or give us $70 one shot and it's over? I think it's the timing of these things that are being announced. So you have 2 pay-per-views that are going to be actually, no, I'm sorry. 1 pay-per-view is going to be available, not the other one. So this is all building up to WrestleMania. Whoever they're anticipating, the people that are going to buy WrestleMania are also going to buy this. They're also anticipating all the people that used to watch wrestling that are into the older stuff are going to sign up for the service to watch the older stuff. So I think it's quite possible for them to do 1 million.
Oh, for sure.
And that's all they want. They want 1 million the first year.
It's definitely an interesting concept, but like you said, they have to get people to sign up for it. And like with them doing the 6-month pricing, if you're a wrestling fan and you watch 2 or 3 events a year, then they've locked you in for the full year.
The only problem,
it'll be very interesting to see how this all actually unfolds if they do meet their expectations, because it is possible that they may not meet those expectations, and if they don't meet those expectations, what happens then?
They have stated that this is a long-term project for them, so they're not going to abandon it. So that's good. But here's the other problem with something like this. I don't think it's been tested, even with MLB. I don't think MLB Network has ever gotten 1 million concurrent live viewers for a game.
Yeah.
I don't think that's been possible for them. So what do you do? Do they have the infrastructure to provide 1 million? Technically, let's project that everybody buying WrestleMania will also be buying this, and they'll be accessing it through this. So can they have 1 million viewers at any given time?
I doubt it.
YouTube has a lot of issues with that. YouTube's been able to do it, but they have a ton of issues.
Yeah, I mean, MLB Network is a great TV cable network, but they're not a live streaming network. I mean, they stream baseball games, but I mean, a few 100,000 people are watching a baseball game at any given time
on that device.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I don't see 1 million concurrent viewers working for WWE. It just doesn't make it. I just don't think it's possible with the internet.
It's going to be a very difficult thing. And the other thing with live action shots is that because of the way that variable bit rate works, and the way that the way that the feed is delivered, it's looked choppy at times. Now I know people that have the MLB Network package online, and they say that it looks really good, but none of them have really watched it on the television. So I'm a little concerned on what the online, stream of the pay-per-view is going to look like compared to what I'm getting on my television, which we're going to find out also. I mean, that's going to be a thing to kind of look into. Interesting stuff, guys. I mean, this is a great year for this to come out. I think we're at the point where the hardware has matured. The internet speeds for many people have kind of come to a point that it's easily accessible. Stuff like this, streaming media is. And they're the first ones to jump on this. So if this works, this is really going to start a trend in the next couple of years for more and more networks and brands going online.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It'll be interesting to see how.
All right, John, go into a story. I did enough talking.
Pick anyone?
I did enough talking. You pick anything.
Oh, gosh, there's so many to choose from here. This is something we've talked about for a while that we said is probably going to happen, and now it seems to be happening. AT&T sponsored data lets businesses foot the bill for consumers' wireless data use. So AT&T at their developer summit said that they are going to introduce what it calls sponsored data, which is something like what an 800 number, toll-free number is, where the business will be able to pay for a consumer's data usage for a particular application. So let's say that you have AT&T and you want to use Pandora or Spotify or some other streaming radio service. That business could technically pay for your bandwidth to be able to use that application now. And AT&T is basically the first carrier to do something like this. And this is something that we kind of predicted is going to start becoming the norm now.
Do we want this to happen? Is this a positive?
It is, but it isn't. In a sense that where we are at now with our bandwidth limitations from carriers, whereas we're no longer having those unlimited data plans that we used to have. So it's no longer as much data as you can consume. You're limited to a certain data pool, like 4 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes. So in that sense, if you do a lot of stuff on your phone, you could easily go over. If you're streaming all the time, you could go through that 2 or 4 gigabytes that you have just listening to Pandora or Netflix or Pandora and Netflix.
But will these companies,
this would help.
Will these companies like Pandora or Netflix or Hulu, right? Can they afford what AT&T will be charging them? Like, what's their rate going to be? And are they going to have a different package? So let's say it's $9.99 a month for Netflix. If you want Netflix mobile, they're going to charge you $20 a month because they got to front the bill.
We have no idea what this is going to cost.
I mean, I could see them saying, okay, no, it's only available over Wi-Fi now. You can only get Netflix over Wi-Fi. If you want mobile, you got to pay the mobile rate because we're fronting the bill.
I didn't think about that. That's a really interesting point.
But is that a bad thing? I mean, that might be good. Think about it. If you travel a lot and you worry about bandwidth usage, you worry about the data usage on your phone or on your 4G hotspot, whatever it is, you may say, you know what? I'm watching a lot of Netflix. This is what's taking up all my data. Here, I'll sign up for that, $20 a month.
But why do you worry about that? That's because carriers no longer offer unlimited data. Whereas before, and like what you normally have at home, you if you're at home, you have a very high bandwidth cap. Where with a mobile carrier, you have extremely low bandwidth cap that you could easily blow through just by consuming the same kind of content on your phone.
Let me ask you, John, because you kind of know about this stuff. How much data is it to stream a 30-minute, HD TV show on Netflix? How much data is that using?
It depends what your bandwidth setting is set to. And this is something that a lot of live services are starting to do. YouTube, Ustream, Dailymotion, etc., where they do this automatic bitrate transcoding, where it'll transcode to, maybe they offer HD, but they can also offer SD at a much lower bandwidth for mobile users. Because you're on a much smaller screen, so you might not actually need to have 720p content on your screen, whatever device that you're using. You might not necessarily notice that as a stream. You would be perfectly acceptable with just normal SD.
Yeah. You see, it gets interesting here, right? Because Pandora could technically do a monthly fee, right? They do have a monthly fee one, though, right? They have something, but they could have a more prominent pricing structure where they say, okay, well, if you want to consume our stuff via the web or you want to get it over Wi-Fi, that's fine. But if you want it over your carrier, LTE or 3G, you got to pay us X amount, but it doesn't count towards your bandwidth usage.
See, that would be good in certain aspects. So like John said, if you're somebody that travels and you're constantly watching Netflix, then this is a great thing. But, maybe I go out somewhere or I go to a family member's house and they don't have Wi-Fi and I want to watch something on Netflix. The choice is now either use all of your data or pay $20 a month so that if in a situation you don't have Wi-Fi, you can watch something on Netflix. So it's a weird trade-off there.
Is that security comfort worth it for however much money they're going to ask for?
I think for some people it is, but the bigger question is...
You're also assuming that it's going to be this cost that these companies are going to pay to AT&T will be passed on to consumers, which in a way, this is something we brought before, in a way, you're still kind of paying for it on both ends. You're paying for the subscription service to Pandora or Spotify, but then you're still also paying for data from your carrier. You're paying $20, $30 for 2 gigabytes from the carrier.
Well, here's the problem with this, right? So let's say something like that does happen. Okay, so what's holding the ISPs back by saying, okay, I'm going to cut a deal with Hulu because I don't like Netflix. I don't like Netflix taking up all the data that we have. I think they said Netflix usage is 50% of all network traffic after a certain time. I'm going to say, screw you, Netflix. I don't like you guys. I'm going to do a deal with Hulu, and Hulu is going to be, the data usage on Hulu is going to be free on my network. And Pandora is going to be free, but not Stitcher. And Ustream is going to be free and not just in TV. So now this is killing net neutrality because certain people have cut deals with the ISPs and they're getting advantages that other places don't. How do we know it doesn't go to Facebook and Twitter? And then
this is a very interesting thing because this is the heart of net neutrality and something that we saw ruled today where the court struck down key parts of the FCC's net neutrality agenda and rules. Because what they're saying is that they want this free market to play out, but at the same time, do we need some sort of safeguard so that our internet isn't in this free market type of place where you could have these unfair advantages? Does everybody on the internet need to have these net neutral rules, or should we have this completely free market internet?
I mean, I'll give you an example. Verizon owns Redbox now, and Redbox has Redbox streaming. Verizon, I guarantee, if they could, they would say, nope, you cannot get Netflix on our service, and you could only get Redbox. They would do that in a heartbeat. They can't right now because that's breaking net neutrality, and it would be craziness would happen. But the reality is, if they could, they would. And to kind of open up the floodgates by little by saying, well, yeah, you could charge a little bit, and then maybe we're not going to charge you for this usage, but charge you for that usage. That's not fair.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating debate because there are people that say, well, that's how businesses work. Some businesses cut deal. It's a free market. I could cut a deal with you, and I'm not going to have the government tell me, well, no, you can't do that. Well, no, I want to cut a deal with John. I want to give a discount to John. Well, no, you can't do that because it's not fair to Nick. So it's a fascinating discussion.
I think what it all comes down to with this is if it's fair enough, is there enough competition to allow for this free market world, and not these monopolies and duopolies that we kind of do have these days anyway with carriers, with Verizon, because in a way they could have a duopoly where they're just having, all right, so you're on Verizon, we'll exempt Redbox because we own them. And that's, in a way, an unfair advantage, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go into another story, John, and then we'll do our picks.
All right. Well, let's talk about this digital music story that we have in here. This is something you're going to love, is that digital music sales, for the first time ever, have decreased, and vinyl continues to grow. Vinyl is making a really big comeback, and for the first time ever, digital music sales have actually declined. Because this is something that I think music companies have been arguing against for a while, is that, oh, there's piracy that hurts us and all this stuff. But really, does it?
Digital music as far as online consumption, or are we talking about CDs?
We're talking about online consumption. Let me see if it cites exactly where.
Vinyl's growing. Vinyl's growing because it's a trend right now. It's hip to get vinyl.
Yeah, they're definitely not talking about CDs. They're talking about actual stuff you get on iTunes or Amazon. Yeah,
compact disc took a downward spiral. It took a 14% loss. On the flip side, pure analog music, vinyl has showed a 31% increase. That is actually crazy that people are buying vinyl, and that just shows you it's a trend. I mean, I don't see that happening. However, if you won't know much about the impact,
you must buy a lot of vinyl.
I do buy vinyl. I do. I have vinyl. And I'm not one of these people that says it sounds better than CDs. It does not. It does not sound better than CDs.
I hate when people say that.
It does not. I'm sorry. There's just nothing you could tell me that it has a warmth to it, but the first 2 times you play it, after that, it starts getting crappy. So I don't see it happening. Digital album sales drop 1%. That is interesting that it did drop. 0.1%. Why?
0.1%.
The Pirate Bay.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think there's any correlation there. I think people are sick of paying $1. What is it? $1.50 now on iTunes for a song? I mean, that's ridiculous. $1.29 for a single song.
But I mean, we do have services like Spotify now that for a lot of people it makes more sense to get a service like Spotify or iTunes Radio.
I think you just hit it on the head. Is that it's these streaming services now that a lot more people are taking advantage of. I think 2-3 years ago, nobody really knew too much about Spotify, RDO. You got iTunes Radio now. You've got much more players in this field of streaming music that people are more happy to take advantage of and don't necessarily care to download and buy every single song that they hear about.
I want to get the new Lil Wayne album.
Do it.
What are the kids listening to now, Nick?
Not a clue. I stay away.
Nick is stuck in 95. He's listening to Savage Garden and Nirvana.
Why are you making fun of Nirvana?
The new Alice in Chains album came out last week. It's great. All right, guys, let's do our picks of the week. This is the part where we talk about tech products, tech websites, anything in technology that we like for the week. It could be a website. It could be anything. John, you want to go first?
Yeah, this is something that I think is pretty cool. And I mentioned to Nick this other day, this really cool website. It's called fontawesome.io. And this is something that's really cool. If you're a web developer, this is something you really need to take a look at if you're not familiar with. If you've ever heard of the term icon font, this is something that's very new, very hip and up and coming, and really solves a lot of problems for web developers. When you want to have sort of icons for things on there, like say you want to have a folder, a right arrow, iTunes logo, an RSS logo, or whatever it is that you need for your web application, your website, etc. This is a very easy way to do that in a way that is very cross-platform compatible, whether you're on a smartphone, Android, iPhone, Windows, etc., because it scales so well. It's basically just vector graphics as an icon font, and you use these wherever you want on your website using CSS. You can change the color, you can scale them, you can do whatever you want, and it'll stay extremely crisp and very clean looking. It's very cool. It's fontawesome.io, and it's completely free.
Very cool.
I installed it to John's, or I started using it to John's recommendation, and it's truly awesome.
It's
cool.
very easy, very lightweight. Like I said, it scales. It's perfect for retina displays, and you control it with CSS. How much easier does it get?
Yeah.
Very easy. Nick, what's your pick of the week?
So I got a Chromebook since the last time I was on here.
Wow.
And, yes, it's a very little interesting device. I've said it's an add-on device. I got the Acer C720. It's $199 on Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, wherever you want to get it. It's got I think it's an 11.6-inch screen. It's the Intel Pentium Haswell. It's got 2 gigs of RAM. It's a pretty nice device. I've been doing a lot of schoolwork with it. I bring it back and forth to school every day. It's extremely light. I think it's got 8 or 9 hours of battery life. And it's a nice little device that gets to sit here on the desk while I'm working on other things, and it's just nice to, not have to dedicate a 27-inch monitor to, Twitter or something like that.
Nick, why this and not the HP?
Mostly just because of the Haswell processor. This has got the fast Haswell processor in it.
Oh, very cool.
And it's small.
Yeah, it's a nice little device. I need to get one. I don't have one, and I want to be able to, fairly comment on this device. And until I do, I really can't. I can't say like, oh, it sucks or it's great. I need to get one soon.
It's definitely not a computer replacement, though. Let me make that clear. This is not replacing your Windows laptop or your Mac laptop. It's strictly just for going to the coffee shop or something, or using it in conjunction with a Windows PC or a Mac.
Very cool. I don't have a pick of the week.
Boo.
I don't. I'm sorry. I was not prepared for today. I don't have a pick of the week, and I promise you guys I will have a better one next week when we're doing the show.
Would be better.
John. John's messaging me. You know what?
Stay
my pick
focused.
of the week? We had Brian Brushwood on earlier on the IIB Spotlight, and we spoke about his show Cord Killers, which is a show dedicated to cutting the cord, abandoning cable, and doing more of a la carte what I want as my television, and as far as what I want content to be delivered to my TV. They do a phenomenal show. It's Brian Brushwood and Tom Merritt. It's actually my favorite show right now to listen to, because I agree with everything they're saying on that show. I mean, it's crazy. It's exactly what I'm thinking. I know John, which little secret here, John really doesn't like podcasts. He loves that show.
I don't.
I do. He loves that show. I know Nick loves that show. You can support the guys by going to cordkillers.com. If you want to support the show, you can. You could donate. You could tip them money at Patreon. It's patreon.com/cordkillers. You could donate anything, whatever you want, and you get this per episode. So you're continuing. You're supporting the show. I wanted to give them a little shout out because Brian did a really good interview with me about an hour and a half ago about internet broadcasting and cutting the cord, and I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the show. So that's my plug. Cordkillers.com. All right, guys, go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. If you missed any portion of the show, of course, you can catch it archived there. We're on iTunes. We're everywhere podcasts are available. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Of course, GFQ Network is also on Twitter. You can follow them there. John is at Suncast on Twitter. Nick, what is your Twitter handle?
at Gamecast Live on Twitter.
At Gamecast Live on Twitter. Also, Craig Digital Designs. If you're looking for a website, if you're looking for a Roku app, Nick is a guy to contact. Go to CraigDigitalDesigns.com and contact them there. He made our Roku app. Also, hey guys, we have a Roku app. I never mentioned, I get yelled at. Go download our Roku app. If you have a Roku, you can watch us live, and all our shows are archived there too. So check it out on Roku. We're there. That's it. We'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.